everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm so glad I have my voice back, mostly, so I could do this episode for you. Today is Do you log, bro? No, I mean, it's about reading logs. Um, this is a little bit of a controversial topic, at least I think at my school it is. We have a lot of teachers who use reading logs and a lot of teachers who don't use reading logs. It's one of those things that I've been reflecting on myself, whether I should be using one or not. And I've asked myself this question every single year. And I guess I don't have a definitive answer for you. So I would love for you to weigh in as well as what you use your reading log for and how it helps or doesn't help you and your kids in your classroom. Or as parents, what do you feel about reading logs? That's a good question. Again, I'm just giving you some thoughts here. Although I was very validated this week on some of my episodes, I went to some literacy training on Thursday, and a lot of what they were talking about is what I've been coming at you guys with here on Nation of Readers. That was a good feeling to know that, hey, I might be on the right track, not just me thinking that. There's research behind it that supports the things that I've been saying. That was cool. Anyway, let's get to it. So, reading logs. My first thought today about reading logs is, what is the purpose of reading logs? So, do you use it for accountability for your students? Are you using it to try and make it intentional for them? What's your purpose? That's really my first thought is, what is the purpose of a reading log? And I try to think about, me in my own life. Like, no, I don't log my reading. But if I'm really serious about losing weight, will I log my food?
Yes!
I have in the past, and that's helped me be successful. So I see the value of it. I do. But it leads me to point number 2, that reading is not a punishment, right? Like, it should never, ever, ever be a punishment. So parents, teachers, everyone needs to make sure that we do not treat reading as a punishment. We have to always approach reading as it's this opportunity that we get to have and we're excited about. So again, kids, they're going to know if you're excited about that reading time or not. And we just have to make sure that we're showing them that we're excited. The other piece of that is, how do we make it fun for them? Like, you guys could make a fort at home. Hey, we get to use our flashlight and read in this fort that we just made. At school, we could have special reading days where we, bring a beach towel and we lay on the floor and we read. That could be one way to make reading fun, but also remembering that they have that choice and that it's our attitude towards reading too. So as a teacher, when you expect your students to read at home, just because we know that studies show kids who read for 20 minutes at home are going to build a stronger vocabulary and be more successful on tests, and it really just helps them to be more functioning members of society. So reading at home for 20 minutes is key to a school-age student, but do you have consequences if they don't read? Like, I have before. Like, I'll admit it. Like, I've been there. I had the reading log. I checked the reading log every morning, and I had students lose. We use Class Dojo, so they've lost dojo points for not being responsible and doing the reading at home, and we have made that a punishment before. So I've been there, but I've come to realize that a student's not going to develop a habit of reading just because they think they're going to be punished for it. Maybe certain kids who are just wanting to please the teacher, they might, but our hardest to reach kids, the kids that are struggling the most, that's not going to be their motivator. So we really have to think about this and making sure that we're not making reading a punishment and we're making it fun. Reading should be an exciting time, and here's another hard truth. If your kids or your students are just used to watching videos, they have access to YouTube, they play their Fortnite, and all these things that are really action-packed and engaging, that's going to end up being more fun to them than reading. So we just have to make sure we help our students to find balance. I need help finding balance in my own life. Like, I can get sucked in to a show on Netflix very easily and waste my entire weekend watching it. I have to regulate myself, and I have to make sure that I have healthy habits. So we just have to help our students and our children to do the same thing, to not allow them endless time on these devices that are going to then make reading feel like a punishment. Like, I have to put my iPad down because I have to read, or I have to put this gaming system away because I have to read. And then it becomes this punishment. So we have to be careful. Then the third idea or question I have is, well, how do you reward reading? I've used to use dojo points in the past, like they're being responsible, doing your reading. I've used those pizza coupons or Pizza Hut. Like, I'll admit, I got those as a kid, and I thought, oh yeah, this is a cool reward. But the only thing is when you're trying to lose weight, I can come back to this, but when you're trying to lose weight, do you reward yourself with food? Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I've been thinking about this too as a teacher. Like, how can I reward my students for reading? Like, what reading activities would they find exciting and rewarding? To reward reading with reading. So I've told you before, but I've had some sponsors for my students so that they get these free books every month. And so I'm like, oh, I kind of do this. They get a little bit of a reward for doing their reading. But the other thing I was thinking about are those flashlight reads. Like, why can't we do that here at school when we finish a unit and celebrate with a flashlight read or a pajama read or a beach read where we all bring our beach towels and pretend we're laying in the sun? Like, those are just thoughts that I had. Like, how can I reward reading with reading to help build that excitement and keep things about the reading and not about the pizza that I get to go have, or the dojo points that I get to spend to buy some candy or whatever. So I don't know. I was also thinking about allowing students to have more time to talk about what they're reading to keep them accountable, because again, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I do use a reading log at the beginning of the year because I like to see what time are my students reading, about how many pages are they reading in the amount of time that they're given, and I like to see those things. So a reading log helps me at the beginning of the year to kind of understand what families are finding value in having their students read, or what families are helping their child to be successful with this, and what families need a little bit of support. So I think a reading log at the beginning of the year does give me a lot of information, but pretty much every year that I've started off with a reading log, I eventually get away from it because it's cumbersome for me to check every single day, and I feel like it's not the best use of my time. But I also would rather spend the time having conversations about reading. So every morning I start with a morning meeting, and I've been trying to incorporate some time for students to talk about those books and talk about what they're reading. So that way it's keeping them accountable, peer to peer. And I was obviously popping on those conversations and hear too what students are reading. But I just really struggle with using a reading log as a punishment or a reward, but I would love to hear what you think. So again, please drop me a comment as to, as a parent, what do you think about reading logs? Or as a teacher, how do you utilize a reading log or some kind of logging system in your classroom? And what are the pros and cons of that system? So just remember that reading should not be a punishment ever. And think about how you can reward reading at home or in your classroom with reading rewards. All right. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care. So please subscribe. Hit the arrow down and you'll see a subscribe button. Please subscribe so you can know when we send out a new video.